All right, Shalom. First, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. The 10 tribes of Israel, historically identified with the Aborigines of the Western Hemisphere. All right, I'm currently reading this book right now, and it's a pretty good an interesting book, okay, with historical proof, okay, basically proving this right here, okay, or what people would call the lost 10 tribes, all right, of Israel. This book basically goes into how, the Native Americans, the basically today the Latinos, the Hispanics, and all of them, how really, like we teach, are the descendants or are the Israelites basically, you know, all right, from the Mexicans to the or the so-called Mexicans, to the North American Indians, the Seminole Indians, to the Cubans, all of them. Okay, and this book goes into that because understanding that they haven't fled, okay, from the east, came to the west, to the quote unquote new world, all right, which pull up a map right here, came to the quote unquote new world, okay. They were basically inhabitants over here. Now it wasn't anything new because during the time of Solomon, all right, uh, uh Hiram, I believe that was his name, all right, which was a part of Solomon's, basically his navy, when they came here to get certain resources, all right, to take back, okay. So they already knew about this place, all right. They already knew about this place, but going into the book, there's a couple of pages, all right, which I'm not too deep into the book, all right. I'm around the 27th page, but there's a couple of pages in here that has some very interesting information. Note, a lot of this information was by Spanish or European journalists and writers. Some of them were even just soldiers, who were just recording down what they had seen. Okay, and understand that a lot of these people that went there were they had a lot of very well learned people. Okay, because they knew, and because of that, there was a censorship, all right, on what these writers could bring out, based on what they had seen in America. And there wasn't, not everybody at the time was allowed to even come to the Americas, because of the information that was going on, because the proof, all right, of the northern tribes being the descendants of the children of Israel, okay, they had to be careful to try and control that narrative, to control that information, you know, as a part of their deceiving, all right, the world. Okay, so let me just start here. All right, this is page 7, okay, of the book, the 10 tribes of Israel historically identified with the Aborigines of the Western Hemisphere. All right, so it says here, it is very evident that everything in Mexico calculated to draw attention. Now, the Mexicans, all right, the Mexicans, which that's what they're called today, but according to the scriptures, they're the Issacharites, all right, from the tribe of Issachar. Now, I'm gonna see if we can get a good look at it here. See, Issachar, which are the so-called Mexicans, all right, which it mentions Issacharites a lot, and the Asherites, all right, the Peruvians, but really it's all of these northern tribes, or for the most part, okay, because they were, if you look at it, they were a lot of them are grouped close together, you know. You got the Zebulonites around here, the Issacharites, the Asherites, all right. So so as I'm gonna keep reading, which already, let me just pull the precept up. Um, Job 9:24. We also got so I could just give me 1 second. Okay. Um, Revelation in 20th chapter. So as I read, okay, continuing, it says here, back on page 7, it is very evident that everything in Mexico calculated to draw attention to the ancient history of the country, more especially if connected with religious recollections, was carefully removed from notice immediately after the conquest. See? So any information that they had that would be related to basically to the Mexicans being the Issacharites or being of the Israelites or the tribes of Israel, all right, they removed that before, I mean immediately after the conquest. You know, they did because it's like getting first dips and altering whatever they want to alter before letting the rest of the public see it. You know, censorship. All right, it says pieces of sculpture were mutilated or buried, paintings were burned, temples and edifices, which from their size it was impossible to destroy, were suffered to fall into oblivion, and magnificent monuments of ancient art, such as temples of Palenque and the palaces of Miltan, were passed unnoticed by Spanish authors. See, so what they did was they basically try to hide, all right, the evidence, all right, of the natives or the Aborigines here in the Western Hemisphere being the descendants of the tribes of Israel, because the scriptures tell you, which as I read in the book, I'll pull it up, that they fled, all right, the 10 tribes of Israel, they fled from the east, all right, here, okay, they came over here to the Americas, all right, and that was known. Okay, even Christopher Columbus knew that. But in order to control the narrative, they did all this. Okay, so this is Job chapter 9, verse 24. It says, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Who are the wicked? These so called white people, these Caucasians, these Edomites, which the Spaniards were Edomites. All right, all these Europeans, quote unquote, Germans, all these, they're Edomites. Okay, it says, he covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Okay, and a part of doing that is let me see if I find it again. It says here what? Um, Pieces of sculpture were mutilated or buried. All right, paintings were burned. All right, so in order for him to hide that evidence, all right, or to cover the faces of really of the Israelites of Yahweh Shai of the Most High, he did all that, and not only to in Americas, okay, but during the Renaissance era is really when they that's why they called it the rebirth. All right, that's really when they started going around, I mean, whitewashing, like iconoclasm. All right, destroying any thing that really had to do with so-called blacks or Israelites being in rulership. All right, so jump into Revelation, the 20th chapter. Um, this is This is Revelation 20, verse 1. It says, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. This isn't talking about the spiritual demon Satan. All right. This is referring on to these Edomites. Okay. Bound him 1,000 years, meaning they were, well, I was going to say it, and cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled, and after that he must be loosed a little season. See, so this is when these Edomites were on the bottom. All right, around the Dark Ages, when they were just down, they had no type of power, no type of rulership, none of that. Okay, and it was a dark time for them. Okay, but they were bound. But it says what? After the 1,000 years were over, all right, they must be loosed a little season. All right, to go around and do what they're doing today. All right, starting around the Renaissance era. All right, to go around and deceive the nations, and like I just read in the book, that's what they did. But there's more. All right, because there was a heavy censorship, all right, on what these writers could bring out. See, going on, it says, now if I'm pronouncing this person's name right, it says Sahagun, when he engaged in the compilation or putting together of his history after it had been taken away from him and again restored. Okay, so he had it, but then they took it away, but he got it back. It says received three cautions or warnings. All right. First, to write nothing to prove that the Hebrews had colonized the New World. See? So they knew it, but they purposely had these writers that had evidence because they had been to the Americas and they had seen it and all of that stuff. They had them, all right, to the point where they wouldn't write certain things, and even if your book was published, they'd find a way to take out the information they needed, you know, because they wanted to control the narrative. That's like the scripture said, to deceive the world, which is why we have the outcome we have today, which you got the northern tribes, which today they still think they're Dominicans and Puerto Ricans and Mexicans and all these different slave names, when really they're not. All right. Even in order to deceive them, to deceive our own people, all right, they did all this, all right, and to deceive the rest of the world. Okay, but we're in the time when the Most High, all right, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, the Most High, in the name of His Son, all right, is taking that veil off of us, all right, off of our people, and waking up His elect, all right, to come back to their nationality, to their heritage, all right. That's why I'm able to do a video like this. Okay, so that was it on their part. Now jumping to page 14. All right, going to page 14. So actually, the bottom of page 13, going into page 14, it says here the Peruvians, all right, which are Asherites, when first discovered by the Spaniards, had attained a high degree of civilization. All right, this is this book right here. All right, the 10 tribes of Israel. So it says had attained a high degree of civilization. All right. And it would appear from a passage of Gomara's history of the Indies that the Spaniards were struck with the resemblance of some of the tribes of India, all right, to the Jews. Okay, so because what you had Jews also living in Spain and in Europe and in the different parts of the world. Jake was scattered all over. Hey, that's a spirit. 144 right in here. Hey man, that's a spirit right there. Boom. Okay. All right, but going on. All right, you had Jews, so they knew Christopher Columbus had Jewish he had Israelite interpreters. All right, he had Jews who he brought over to the Americas. So it says here they were struck with the resemblance of some of the tribes of India, all right, or Israel, to the Jews. The quote, and in quotes it says, they are all very like Jews in appearance and voice, for they have large noses and speak through the throat. See? Because guess what, man? We are of the same nation. All right? We're of the same nation, just separated, you know? But we're still the same people, man. And they can like understand that these things that they wrote is because they couldn't. It was just plain, They were writing their observations. All right. So now we're gonna go. All right, this is the main page I wanted to read. Page 25. Okay. It says here the commentator on the Mexican antiquities observes. All right, so these are his observations, which the Mexicans once again are Issacharites. All right, like I pulled up from the tribe of Issachar. Okay, so it says, the first reason for concluding the Indian tribes to be of Hebrew descent is in their belief in the symbolical purification of water. All right, it says the inhabitants of Yucatan gave to water, with which they baptized their children, the title of the water of regeneration. All right. So back to that, which our people were doing that. Okay, even when you read in the time of Yahweh Shai, the time of John the Baptist, John the Baptist, okay, that's what he was doing. So it says, the Indians of Uticon invoked him, whom they believed to be the living and true God, of whom they made no graven images. Was that not written of in the scriptures? Uh, Exodus 20:4. It says, "Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth." See? And this was a commandment to the nation of Israel, not just the southern kingdom or the northern kingdom, but the whole nation, because this is in the book of Exodus. All right. So as I keep reading, and it's gonna get interesting. So it says, the second reason for believing that the religion of the Indians was Judaism is that they used circumcision. All right? They used circumcision. Now, let's go. Genesis, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 17, verse 7. Because this was a part of the covenant, all right, that the Lord made with Abraham. Okay? And not just Abraham alone, but his seed after him, going through Isaac and Jacob into the 12 tribes. Okay? And it was to what? It was of circumcision. So I'm going to read it. Genesis 17, verse 7. "And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee, in their generations for an everlasting covenant." See? This is what? With Abraham. The Lord making that covenant with Abraham and his seed. See? For an everlasting covenant. All right? And that covenant wasn't with Ishmael or anybody else. It was with Abraham, and it went through Isaac and Jacob. "To be a power unto thee, and to thy seed after thee." So what is the Lord? What is the Lord a power of? What? The God of Israel, right? So it says, like it. "And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. And the Most High said unto Abraham, Thou shalt keep my covenant therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised." That's a covenant the Lord made with Abraham, all right, and his seed, all on down to the nation of Israel. "And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and it shall be a token of the covenant between or betwixt me and you. And he that is eight days old shall be circumcised among you." So that's why he's supposed to circumcise on the 8th day. "Every man child in your generations, he that is born in the house or bought with money of any stranger which is not of thy seed." Okay? So the Lord made this covenant now, showing you that it's just with the nation of Israel. This is Psalms 147, verse 19. "He showeth his word unto Jacob." Jacob was the grandson of Abraham. All right? Abraham had Isaac, and Isaac had Jacob and Esau. But the blessing, the seed, the covenant, the promise, all of that went through Abraham to Isaac to Jacob, which Jacob's name was later changed to Israel. All right? And it went through his sons. All right? And their sons and their children to us today. Okay? That's why they were called the children of Israel. It says his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. So the Lord showed his statutes and judgments unto Israel. And a part of those statutes was the circumcision. It says, "He hath not dealt so with any nation. And as for their judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye Yahweh." So no other nation did the Lord make this covenant with. All right. So now explain to me why the northern kingdom, all right, or as it states here, the Issacharites, which it wasn't just the Issacharites, all right, but the northern kingdom, why were they keeping this covenant? Why were they circumcising their children? All right, because what? It was they are. It was a part of the covenant that the Lord made with us. Okay, or made with the Israelites. All right. So as I read, it says, third, that they expected a Messiah. See, they expected a Messiah. Now, keep in mind, they were the Northern Kingdom were on the other side of the world. All right, but there's prophecies. It was prophesied even in the Old Testament that the Yahushai or Messiah was going to come. Okay, so even before the northern tribes came to the Americas, they knew, all right, that there was going to be a Messiah to come. That's why they expected him. All right, and Yahushai did come to visit the northern tribe, man. That's why he said that there's some sheep. I have some sheep that are not of this fold. Okay, now it says the fourth, that many words connected with the celebration of their religious rites were obviously of Hebrew extraction. Fifth, that Las Casas, the bishop of Chaipa, who had the best means of verifying the fact, was of this opinion. Okay, so he believed this, and it says he had the best means of verifying that this was true. It says sixth, that the Jews themselves, including some of the most eminent rabbis such as Menashe ben Israel and Montesinos, maintained it both by verbal statement and in writing. Seventh, the dilemma in which most of the Spanish writers, such as Acosta and Torquemada, have placed their readers by leaving them no alternative than to come to the decision whether the Hebrews colonized America and established their rights amongst the Indians, or whether the devil had counterfeited in the New World the rites and ceremonies which the Most High gave to his chosen people. Which is something that they try to say. They try to say that it's either the northern tribes over here in the Americas, or the Aborigines, were Israelites, or they were the devil's people, who the devil, in trying to imitate the Lord, all right, brought them here to a new land and then try to, give them the laws of the Jews and blah blah blah, which makes no sense. All right. He says, the eighth is the resemblance which many ceremonies and rites of the Indians bear to those of the Jews. See, because they're what? Two halves of one whole. All right, keep going. It says the ninth is the similitude which existed between the Indian and Hebrew moral laws. All right, keep going. It says the 10th is the knowledge which the Mexican and Peruvian, or the Issacharites and Asherites traditions supplied, that the Indians possessed the history contained in the Pentateuch, which is what the Tanakh, Slakia, the Torah. Okay, which is what the first 5 books, all right, of the scriptures: Genesis, let me see right here: Genesis, Exodus, all right, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Numbers, all right. It says here that they possess the history contained in it. Now, if they weren't the children of Israel, they're not the 10 tribes, which, mind you, the 10 tribes are supposedly nowhere to be found, right? If these aren't the 10 tribes, which it says the Mexicans and Peruvians, but it wasn't only them, because the book tells you that you had all the other tribes, and the other tribes were basically doing the same thing. Okay, so what business did they have having history that's contained in the Torah? If they weren't of the Israel, because the Torah, they were the same people that it was written of. All right, it says the 11th is the Mexican tradition of the Teo-Maxtli, or divine book of the Toltecs. 12th is the famous migration from Azultan, or Asia. Let's get the precept on that. Okay, when you go to the book of 2nd Esdras, all right, chapter 13, you around the 40th verse. All right, it says verse 39. So it says, and whereas thou sawest that he gathered another peaceable multitude unto him, those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, who Salmanasseh the king of Assyria led away captive. And he carried them over the waters, so they came into another land, all right, to serve captivity. But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. Now keep in mind, this whole place where they were was in Asia, all right, where they served captivity, Assyrian captivity, all that was on the east. Okay? So it says here they took counsel to go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt, which is why it was called the New World. Now, this is the 10 tribes. It says that they might there keep their statutes, which I just read in the book. All right, their moral laws being basically the same to that of the Jews. All right, them having the history contained in the Pentateuch, which is the Torah. It says, which they never kept in their own land, and they entered into Euphrates by the narrow places of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half, and the same region is called Arsareth. Now, all right, it says then dwelt they there until the latter time, and now when they shall begin to come. So they dwelt there, meaning since they came here, they haven't gone back. All right, they've been here. And when you look at who were the Aborigines here, I'm reading it to you. All right, it was the northern tribe or the northern tribes. Because when you had the Spanish conquerors, when they came over here, who were the people that the Dominicans, quote unquote Puerto Ricans, Seminole Indians, North American Indians, Mexicans, Peruvians, all these are all the tribes, and they've been here since that time. All right, but let's focus on this right here, Arsareth. All right, that is the region in which they came to from the east. All right, or the new world. Now, when you look up the word Arsareth in the Jewish encyclopedias, it's pronounced Arzareth, which is the same word. It says the name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitation of man. Let's read this part again. To go forth into a country where never mankind dwelt. All right. It says, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses. What did I just read in the book? It says here, page 26. All right. It says the 10th is the knowledge which the Mexican and Peruvian tradition supplied, that the Indians possess the history contained in the Pentateuch, which is what? The Torah, which is the laws of Moses. Well, really the laws of the Most High. All right. It says until the time of the restoration, according to Second Esdras. All right, which I just read. That's what I just read out of. It says Columbus, the famous Christopher Columbus, identified America with this land. So they knew who the people here were, man. All right. They knew who the people here were. Okay. But going on, like I read in the book, it says the 12th is the famous migration from Azultan or Asia, all right, which I just read to you right now. The only people, all right, according to the scriptures who did that, all right, were the 10 tribes of Israel. And here it's telling you that this is something that the Aborigines that were already here, all right, did. So how did they get here? Well, boom. Okay. So it says the 13th, the traces of Jewish history, traditions, laws, customs, manners, which were found in the Mexican paintings. 14th, the frequency of sacrifice amongst the Indians and the religious consecration of the blood and fat of the victims. 15th, the style of the architecture of their temples. All right. Now this is a very very key part right here. The 16th, the fringes which the Mexicans wore fastened to their garments. All right, I'm gonna read that again. The fringes which the Mexicans wore fastened to their garments. All right. Now let me get a quick precept. Okay, Numbers 15 verse 38. It says, speak unto the children of, well, I'll start 37. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel. Unto who? The children of Israel, right? And bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments, right? Like we just read in the book, the fringes which who? The Mexicans wore to their garments. But here it says the Lord told Moses to tell this to the children of Israel. So why are the Mexicans keeping this commandment right here? I wonder. Maybe they are the same people which Moses was speaking to. It says, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments. Garments, fringes, garments, because that's what they wore throughout their generations, and that they put on the fringe of the border of a ribbon of blue. Okay, throughout their generations. That's why you had the Mexicans, which are a tribe, one of the tribes of Israel, the Issacharites, who were there when the Lord told Moses to tell this to the children of Israel, all right, to put the make them fringes on their garments. And so it's no surprise that you had the Mexicans doing that, but it wasn't only them, all right, but you had them doing that. And this is a book. This is a historical book, all right. The 10 tribes of Israel, all right, right here. The 10 tribes of Israel historically identified with the Aborigines of the Western Hemisphere, which Aborigine simply means like an original inhabitant. Okay, so I'm gonna end it off. All right, I'm almost done with the page. 17th, a similarity of the manners and customs of the Indian tribes far removed from the central monarchies of Mexico and Peru. See, so the tribes that, let me pull it up, read it again. It says the similarity of the manners and customs of the Indian tribes far removed from the central monarchies of Mexico and Peru to those of the Jews, which writers who were not Spaniards have noticed, such as Sir William Penn. All right, and that's it on that page. Okay, so hey, right there, man, through the Spirit. All right, even in these books, it shows you, man, we're not making this up. Now, this book was in what, 1836. All right, 1836. So go. Why don't you go tell the author of these books, all right, that they're making it up too. You know, the truth is out, man. The truth is out. Okay, so before I end it, I'll just get this last precept. This is 2 Corinthians 13, verse 8. For we can do nothing against the truth, but for the truth. All right, and that's it, man. All right, you can't do anything against the truth before the truth, because the truth will come out no matter what. All right, and so, you know, with that, I hope this was edifying to the elect. All right, I want to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Amen. Just more proof breaking down the strongholds. All right, that this wicked kingdom has put on our people's minds, man. All right, the northern kingdom. All right, this sign is correct. All right, it is correct, and there's proof. All right, to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. All right, so, you know, with that, I'm gonna say shalom.